What's up? I'm going to take the CompTIA Security Plus practice test for the first time. If I can, I would like to get a 60 or 70%. That would be amazing. This is to prepare me for my final cramming before I take the real exam on the 23rd. So that'll give me a couple of weeks to read over and study material that I haven't covered yet. There are some sections that I haven't read, but I'm just going to go for it. This happens to be the last day that I have access to this material. Originally, I purchased it for school. Let's see, this is a full-length practice test, 84 questions, 4 performance-based questions, and you have 90 minutes. Let's go. A new IT administrator accidentally causes a fire in the IT closet at a small company. Consider the disaster types and conclude which types this event might classify as. I may not be able to read all the questions for you guys, but I hope that if you want to get an idea of what the difficulty is like, I believe this test, the Network Plus test from the same platform that I'm on right now, was a little bit harder, in my opinion, than the real Network Plus exam. So I'm assuming the same will be true in this case. Some of these questions might be a little harder than what you would get on the actual Security Plus. I can't say for certain, but given that this is made by CompTIA, I'd say it's one of the best sources to gauge your knowledge. I may not be able to read all the questions here because I do have to finish this in 90 minutes, and there are almost 90 questions. But hopefully you guys can follow along and learn something. What type of attack replays a cookie? Compare the advantages and disadvantages of certificate revocation versus suspension, and select the scenario that presents the best argument for certificate revocation. What type of phishing attack targets upper level management? That would be whaling. Get the big ones. The IT team at a company discovers that a Windows server is infected with malware. As a result, the server is not functioning properly. Which event log does the team review to find errors from failing services related to newly installed software? Newly installed software, I would think application logs. An organization prepares for an audit of all systems security. While doing so, staff perform a risk management exercise. Which phase does the staff consider first? would think you would want to know what's important to you first. A risk management exercise. An organization receives notification from an actor that vulnerabilities have been found in an on-site firewall. While the actor does not exploit the vulnerability, a bounty is requested for the work and discovery. What type of actor is the organization dealing with? That would be like Gray Hat, because he found the vulnerability without permission, but he did not exploit it. Just a little lighthearted blackmail. Or what is the word? Coercive bug bounty hunting. A company hires a security consultant to train the IT team in incident response procedures. The consultant facilitates a question and answer session, and the IT team practices running scans. Determine which type of incident response exercise the consultant facilitates in this scenario. I don't think that's a simulation or forensics or tabletop, so I guess it would be a walkthrough. They're just kind of talking through it. Sounds like he's just teaching them. They practice running scans. I guess walkthrough. Human Resources Department works with the IT department at an organization to develop employee security training. Which security control type and function describes the training program? Employee security training. So, I want to go with operational and managerial. Deterrent is security that deters attacks, and compensating is security that makes up for something you already know is lacking. I'm not clear enough on that definition to know if that applies here or not. A junior engineer investigates a systems breach. While documenting network information, the engineer uses the ARP command. What useful information will this command provide? The configuration assigned to network interfaces in Windows, including the media access control, address of the DHCP server, probing of a host on a particular IP address, the MAC address of systems the host has communicated with. Yeah, that sounds most correct. D. I could test it right now on my computer to be sure, but I won't be able to in the real exam. A systems manager created a control diversity plan to enact a defense in-depth approach to security. To mitigate any possible risk of a virus infection, the plan includes which physical and administrative controls? Physical and administrative. Administrative. User training is out, but these three all sound like physical and or administrative. USB port locks are physical. Restricted permissions, I think, would be administrative, and endpoint security would also be physical. An organization hires a pen tester. The tester achieves a connection to a perimeter server. Which technique allows the tester to bypass a network boundary from this advantage? Pivoting. Yeah, I think that's correct. A mobile device program at an organization allows users to use a standard issue company-owned device for personal and work use. Which program type does the organization provide? Hey, there's actually people watching. Oh, you thought that one was lateral? Yeah, it could be lateral. Um, it's either lateral or pivoting. All right, I believe this one is BYOD, bring your own device. Oh no, this is a standard issue company-owned device. So it's not bring your own device. It is whatever one of these stands for, what that means. Company owned. No. Dang. Yeah, this could stand for company something owned device. So I'm going to go with that. Too bad there's a little delay, or you guys could give me the answers. Several businesses operating on a federated network allow access to each other's resources through enterprise connections. When this type of federated network employs security assertion markup language, SAML, how are authorization tokens secured? Oof. I did not read this section thoroughly enough. I suspect B or C. I'm going to go with B. At the end, guys, I will oh, 720. That's rough. At the end, guys, I'll go through all the answers so you can see which ones I got correct or incorrect. And I'll leave this up too if you guys want to come back and watch it again or whatever. Examine each of the following attack scenarios to determine which vulnerabilities can be mitigated by changing firewall configurations. Okay, email will not. Software vulnerability, maybe. Domain name server lookup from a network host. Bypass the secure web gateway. Excuse me. Which vulnerabilities can be mitigated by changing firewall configurations? I would think it would be D. Which of the following sequences properly orders forensic data acquisition by volatility priority? Oh boy. Oh, okay. So all we're trying to tell is what's the most volatile data. Okay. Haven't read this section, but I feel like we can do this. System memory caches is first on both here. Usually that means one of these is right. I need to learn how to use live stream so I can mute when I cough. Remote monitoring data, data on mass storage. Okay, I think remote monitoring data sounds more volatile than data on mass storage devices. And archival media is last in all of them, so that doesn't help. Yeah, I'm going to go with B on this one. A company tells the IT department that user access needs to be changed so privileges are only granted when needed, then revoked as soon as the task is finished or the need is passed. Based on account management practices, what is the company asking the IT department to implement? Pretty sure that's least privilege. Okay, first performance-based question. You are a security forensics expert that is assisting an on-site technology team with a data breach investigation at an organization. The breach has compromised a Windows 10 workstation that contains a critical database. You are assisting with the preservation and integrity of the system as it stands. Your goal is to examine the system and capture any recoverable data. To do so, you first need to consider the order of volatility. You also need to consider the following notes from the organization. The IT department states that the system has been unstable for a while. The hard disk drive, E, has bad sectors and should have been replaced, but it never was. The database is the highest priority over all other data. Only the operating system is on drive C. System dump files are saved to the OS drive. Drive E is for backups. An installed application occasionally causes Explorer to crash and create a dump file. System has a GPU installed, but is of the lowest priority. A USB flash drive is connected, but the system often says unknown USB device. Drag the data components in order from highest to lowest priority based on the order of volatility and the organization's needs in the scenario. Then use the drop-down selectors to answer the question. Okay, well, they clearly told us what the highest priority was. The database. And where is the database? Well, if we go in order of priority based on the previous question, oh man, this is hard. Or maybe I'm just not knowledgeable about this section. What do you guys think? All right. Take care, Umair. Awan. Thanks for watching. Had the system been functioning properly, the blank would not have had to be considered for data acquisition. Drive E is for backups. Drive E is for backups. How am I supposed to know if the SSD or the HDD is E? Oh, it says right here. HDD E is for backups. So, yeah, that should be second in priority. And if it had been functioning properly, would not have had to be considered for data acquisition. Which component would you acquire differently if there were no special requirements? Okay, maybe we should change our order around because they say the database is the highest priority. I'm assuming that's on the SSD. So I'm gonna go like this. And then I'm gonna answer SSD here. Because if there were no special requirements, we wouldn't be so worried about the SSD. I'm curious to know what anyone else thinks on this one. We got plenty of time. 71 minutes. What do you guys think? Still not confident that I understand where the database is, but I'm assuming it's on the operating system drive, which is the SSD. The HDD is backups only. So, yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see at the end. A data analytics company compiles reports based on patient health information for a regional patient call center, which will later use the data to contact patients for follow-up appointments. All sensitive information is digitally modified to contain randomly generated letters that can be returned to its original value by using the correct tool. Based on this requirement, which de-identification method is the data analytics company using to protect patient data? This would be, I believe it's called tokenization. I could be wrong on that, but that's the term that sounds familiar to me. Which statement describes a key distinction between an intentional and unintentional threat actor? An intentional threat actor attacks a target from inside its network, whereas an unintentional threat actor conducts opportunistic attacks. Yeah, I think that's B. A junior engineer suspects there is a breached system based on an alert received from a software monitor. The use of the alert provides which information to the engineer? Oh, dang, I don't recognize any of these. The use of the alert provides which information? Huh? No idea. Guess. Consider the life cycle of an encryption key. Which of the following is not a stage in a key's life cycle? Revocation should not be. It could be. No, actually, an encryption key, expiration or renewal, or revocation. One of these is not legit. Oh, I need to read more, guys. Hopefully you're doing better than I am. My goal is 60%, or maybe 70 if I'm really lucky. I have a feeling it's going to be more like 50%. Examine the differences between authentication factors and authentication attributes, and select the statement that most effectively summarizes the differences between authentication factors and authentication attributes. I don't know on this one either. Authentication attributes are characters used to verify an account holder's credentials. Authentication factors use secondary or continuous authentication and access control. I'm gonna go with B. Not sure, but we'll go with that. Management looks to IT for a solution to identify successful and failed login attempts. Which solution will IT provide to management? Successful and failed login attempts would be logs. A system engineer looks to monitor a network for security purposes. The engineer places sensors throughout the building in appropriate places, but does not have enough to cover all areas that they want to monitor. Fortunately, the engineer thought ahead and purchased appropriate network switches. Which sensor type does the engineer use to monitor specific systems? Select all that apply. Oh boy. I'm gonna go with an active tap. Maybe, could be passive, could be span. But I'm gonna go with active tap. A user enters a card equipped with a secure processing chip into a reader, and then enters a PIN for Kerberos authentication. What authentication method is described here? A card, and then a PIN. Well, it sounds like smart card authentication. It also sounds like multi-factor because it's something he has, the card, and something he knows, the PIN. So I'll stick with that. A security specialist reviews an open closet with network cables and discovers highly exposable areas that are at high risk of physical intrusion. The specialist recommends creating a protected distribution system to lower security risks. What would a PDS help solve? Select all that apply. Damage. Eavesdropping. Wouldn't necessarily help speed or length. I'm not sure how you can help a closet of network cables to be longer. So we'll stick with A and C. A dissatisfied employee has discreetly begun exfiltrating company secrets to sell to a competitor. The employee sets up a malware script that will run in the event of the employee's firing and account deletion. Analyze the attack and determine what type of attack the employee has in place. A malware script that will run if he gets fired and account deleted. That's a logic bomb. If XYZ equals true, blow it up. Which statement best illustrates the advantages and disadvantages of using asymmetric encryption? Asymmetric encryption is not ideal for bulk. Is ideal for providing identity, but it requires significant computing overhead. And it's this one. During a cyber incident response exercise, a blue team takes steps to ensure the company and its affiliates can still use network systems while managing a simulated threat in real time. Based on knowledge of incident response procedures, what stage of the incident response process is the blue team practicing? A simulated threat in real time? That would be that it's an exercise, but they're making sure that people can use the network systems. Can still use, makes me think containment, but it also could be recovery if they're trying to recover the network systems. I could even make a case for identification, but I'm going to go with containment because they said still use, not can now use, like after the fact, I guess. A web server receives data from an application. It appears that passing this data causes an issue that evolves into an overflow at the destination. What process on the receiving server should be investigated? An overflow. I could think input validation, error handling. Let's go with input validation. No, error handling. Systems administrators configure an application suite that uses a collection of single hash functions and symmetric ciphers to protect sensitive communication. While the suite uses these security features collectively, how is each instance recognized? A single hash and symmetric ciphers. Oh, I don't know the answer here. I'm going to go with cryptographic. Cryptographic primitive. Hey, Ashentko, what's up, man? Which statements accurately describe the telecommuter model of remote access architecture? I don't know. I'm going to go with C. In the containment phase of incident response, the cyber incident response team faces complex issues that need to be addressed quickly. During this phase, a member of the CIRT would be concerned about all except which of the following issues? I think that preventing it in the future would be his least concern. Top concerns would be, yeah, we don't want to alert the attacker that we're here. What can we do to stop them? And what have they already done? What damage have they done? Worrying about how to prevent it in the future would be later, down the road, right? All right, second performance-based question. A senior engineer has asked you to investigate network details on a network as part of a security check. You'll be performing reconnaissance to discover open ports, as well as the Nmap utility on a Linux system to scan the firewall. The firewall IP address is 192.168.1.1 on a Class C subnet, 254 usable hosts. You are also asked to scan from the standpoint of an unauthorized intruder. Tasks to perform. No particular order. Scan the mapped out firewall rule sets, determines which ports are filtered and whether a firewall is stateful or not. Perform a scan that obtains OS type, service version, and a trace route simultaneously. Perform a scan that sends an ARP request to the host on a given subnet. Perform a scan for host discovery only, no port scan. Perform a default scan at a fast, stable speed. Scan an entire subnet for port 80. Conduct a fast port scan, 100 ports. All right, so we got a whole bunch of Nmap commands, and we're looking to, based on the scenario, use the drop-down selectors to select the command responsible for displaying the code text output. All right, sweet. This is great. This is the kind of stuff I learned in TryHackMe. It's been a while, but we shall see. So this one gave us, let's see. Why is there a trace route there? Oh, I'm trying so hard to remember. Is that just a regular Nmap scan? All right, moving on. This one gives us port 80 and port 80 there as well. So it would be, there's a space P80. I really need to review, guys. Not shown, 99 closed ports, port 80 open, HTTP. So this is where he scanned 100 ports. Yeah, 1 through 100. That seems right. In which case, this would be also correct. Same thing, but let's see, Nmap done. One IP address, one host up, scanned in 1.7 seconds. Let's see. A fast, stable speed. Is 5 unstable? Is that too fast? 256 IP addresses. Oh, I forgot. We need the WAC 24 in there. This one, we're scanning one IP address. This one, we're scanning one IP address. I'm going to look at the scenario once I get to the end of this. Let's see. So here we're scanning for what? We're scanning for who's up. So I think that's PN. It's either PN or SN. I cannot remember. And this one we're scanning for MAC addresses. Man, I can't remember these commands, guys. All 1000 scan ports are filtered. All 1000 scan ports are unfiltered. Well, who knows? All right, let's check the scenario and see if we can identify. Firewall rule set. So that would be this one, the firewall. Scan that obtains OS type service version and a trace route simultaneously. So that would be this one. I wonder if that's a trick question and it's just the IP address. I really want to test this now. Perform a scan that sends an ARP request to the hosts on a given subnet. I believe that would be this one because we got the MAC, so that would be the ARP request. I just don't know which command actually does that in Nmap. Perform a scan for host discovery only. That would be this one. No, this one. 4 hosts up. That's the answer for there. Yeah. I'm just going to go with it. You guys aren't screaming the correct answers at me, so it can't be that bad. A suspected malicious insider at a company conducted a network attack. A security manager who personally knew the insider conducts forensic analysis, looks for evidence of misconduct on the employee's workstation and in system logs. The manager packages the data for further review, but modifies it by removing certain fields of the data to make it easier to review. Examine the scenario and determine what argument a defense attorney might bring up concerning the forensic investigative process. The examiner conducted analysis with bias. The examiner tampered with evidence by accessing system logs. Could be. Yeah, it could be all 3 of those, I think. The second one, maybe not so much, but if he's removing data, maybe not, but they're not usually that tricky with the test questions. A network administrator needs to implement a firewall between nodes on the same subnet. Excuse me. Without reconfiguring subnets and reassigning IP addresses across the network. Considering firewall configurations, which implementation is the best choice? I don't know, but transparent firewall sounds good. An administrator plans a backup and recovery implementation for a server. The goal is to have a full backup every Sunday, followed by backups that only include changes every other day of the week. In the event of a catastrophe, the restore time needs to be as quick as possible. Which scheme does the administrator use? Full followed by incrementals. Full followed by differentials. It sounds like differentials, but full followed by incrementals is standard practice, so I'm going to go with that. Which term best describes a root certificate authority in a secure configuration? A root certificate authority. Online, single, hierarchical, or offline? In a secure configuration? I don't know. Guess. Evaluate which of the following solutions would most effectively mitigate vulnerabilities that might arise when outsourcing code development. Have a different vendor perform vulnerability and penetration testing. That's a good test. An attacker compromises a confidential database at a retailer. Investigators discovered that unauthorized ad hoc changes to the system were to blame. How do the investigators describe the attack vector in a follow-up report? That would be unauthorized ad hoc changes. Sounds like shadow IT, because that's IT that's not IT doing things. Also weak configuration. Not configuration drift. Also lack of security controls, because how was somebody able to make changes when they weren't supposed to make changes? The IT director at a financial institution grants account permissions using an access control list. This illustrates what type of security control? That would be preventative, because you're preventing the wrong people from getting control. A banking firm's IT team discovers a possible man-in-the-middle attack. Which of the following statements describes an assessment tool built into the operating system that would result in this discovery? Select all that apply. Yeah, you could use traceroute. You don't need to repair a boot sector. I don't think you need to ARP. You could also use Wireshark, which is, I think, what that's describing there. Wireshark's not built into the operating system, but traceroute is, or tracer T, as I call it. When a company first installed its computer infrastructure, IT implemented robust security controls. As the equipment ages, however, those controls no longer effectively mitigate new risks. Which statement best summarizes the company's risk posture? Company's aging infrastructure constitutes a control risk. Yeah, basically, I think that's correct. Yeah. A cloud engineer configures a virtual private cloud. While trying to create a public subnet, the engineer experiences difficulties. The issue is that the subnet remains private, while the goal is to have a public subnet. What does the engineer conclude the problem might be? The Internet Gateway does not use one-to-one network address translation. That sounds right. A new systems administrator at an organization has a difficult time understanding some of the configurations from the previous IT staff. It appears many shortcuts were taken to keep systems running and users happy. Which weakness does the administrator report this configuration as? Availability over confidentiality and integrity. Yep, that sounds right, and that sounds like a normal thing in IT. Identify the true statements about supervisory control and data acquisition systems. Typically communicate with one another through LAN. Typically run as software on ordinary computers, gathering data from managing field devices. Purpose-built devices that prioritize IT security features. Serve primarily industrial manufacturing, utility, and logistics sectors. That is true. This also, I think, is true. I don't think these two are correct. The National Intelligence Agency maintains data on threat actors. If someone intercepted this data, it would cause exceptionally grave damage to national security. Analyze the risk of exposure and determine which classification this data most likely holds. Grave damage. I'm gonna say top secret. I don't know. A penetration tester directs test packets to the host using a variety of default passwords against service and device accounts, gaining a view of the vulnerabilities the network exposes to unprivileged users. Given this situation, what type of test did the penetration tester use? I can't remember if degaussing. I feel like that would effectively remove data from an SSD. I know it would from an HDD because those are magnetized disks, but from an SSD, it should. Smashing with a hammer does not seem effective. I don't know. I'm gonna go with D. Yeah. Consider an abstract model of network functions for an infrastructure as code. Implementation and determine which plane describes how traffic is prioritized. Not too sure about that one. Data aggregation? Hmm. Yeah, you can employ remote wipe. If people are okay with you wiping their devices. All right. Smart card and enter a pin. Yeah, that seems right. Behavioral threat research. Compiles threat intelligence information. What does he provide? IP addresses, descriptions, correlations. I mean, he could grab any of this stuff. Data, IP addresses, behavioral threat research, I feel like would be correlation of events. I don't know. Sounds like persistence. Could be. This could be considered a rogue access point. A smartphone tethered to the network. No, it's not really a rogue access point. It's more like a switched port analyzer slash mirror port. Kind of. I know exactly what this is. I mean, I've heard penetration testers talk about making a device that you leave on site. You can later access via cell signal, but is that what they call it? I'm not sure. key stretching. Adds entropy to a user-generated password. Adds a random value. That's assault. That's salt, not assault. Does not prevent brute force. It does make it stronger, I think. I'm gonna go with that one. An investigator needs to analyze all data on a system. Which file does the investigator review if it contains data while in use when physical RAM in a system is exceeded? That would be the... I think that would be the page file, but page file is not an option here. So swap file. Let's go with that. Okay, one more performance-based question. You are the senior security engineer at a medium-sized retailer that has a very strong e-commerce presence. The website's SSL certificate is about to expire. Without a valid certificate, it will severely impact online sales and expose the company to the threat of a costly cyber breach. Since you cannot alter a certificate once issued, you should take the time to evaluate new certificate options. It is your job to research and obtain a new certificate. Okay, so what do we do? The company will rely on third-party certificate authority services that streamline the process of securing websites and web servers for e-commerce. However, what process in PKI is the ultimate and final responsibility of the company in this scenario? Key management. Yeah, that would be their responsibility. The company is concerned about hacking attempts that will attempt to break the chain of trust between the company's e-commerce web servers and associated intermediate and root CAs. Which set of techniques is available to the company to prevent malicious certificates from entering the chain of trust? I don't know this one, guys. Pinning and stapling both sound great. If you pin the certificates together, nobody can inject one. I'm going to go with that. Since security is paramount, the company will conduct regular vulnerability assessments, security checks, and audits. The third-party CA will provide the certificate management platform. As part of regular security audits of digital certificate infrastructure, for example, what service can the company's security engineers check to validate the status of specific digital certificates? Certificate attributes. I mean, yeah, you can check certificate attributes in order to verify that they're not expired. The company's website and subdomains will be continuously at risk to hackers, and a certificate could be compromised. Which certificate type would minimize risk for all sites? Domain validation. Certificate authority. I'm really weak on this one. Proof of domain ownership and legal identity is important to the company for enhanced security. The company would prefer a website certificate issued with rigorous verification. Which web server certificate type would fulfill this request? Rigorous. Yeah, I definitely need to read this section, but I'm going to go with extended validation. I think it's domain validation, but I already answered that up here. So the company has an additional website with a fake storefront used for testing. This site is on the same web server. When browsing the test site, the certificate is not working properly. What part of the web server certificate does the fully qualified domain name have to match? I believe that would be the common name. But we'll see. We'll find out. An organization requires that a file transfer occurs on a nightly basis from an internal system to a third-party server. IT for both organizations agree on using FTPS. FTPS. Which configurations does IT need to put in place for proper file transfers? Configure the use of port 22. I believe that's file transfer protocol over SSH. So that'd be 22. Negotiate a tunnel prior to any exchange commands using secure shell between client and server. Yeah. That's required. I think C might be in there too, but I'm just going to leave it at that. Security engineer configures a digital key to encrypt sensitive data. There is an overall fear of losing the key. Which methods might the engineer consider as a backup management solution? Oh, so now I see pinning and stapling are it's probably has something to do with holding on to keys. Escrow is when somebody else holds it for you. M of N control is when you have 5 people with keys and at least 3 of them need to be present, for example. So that could be an option. Because then there's less chance of 3 out of the 5 all losing their keys at the same time. I'm not sure what these two are, so I'm not going to select those. An employee that carries a company credit card learns that the card has become compromised. The employee only remembers fueling a company vehicle. Consider the following viable methods and determine which method compromised the card. That is card skimming. A retail establishment experiences an attack where whole number values have been exploited. What? As a result, some credit values are manipulated from positive values to negative values. Which type of attack is the establishment dealing with? Whole number values have been exploited? Is it integer overflow or buffer overflow? Sounds like integer overflow, but I've heard so much more about buffer overflow. Let's stick with that. After a company moves on-premise systems to the cloud, engineers devise a serverless approach in a future deployment. What type of architecture will engineers provision in this deployment? Virtual machine containers. Yeah. A company deploys an active defense strategy designed to detect insider malpractice. To record the malicious insider's actions, the security team creates a convincing yet fake data file with a tracker that records any data exfiltration attempts. Analyze the security tool and determine what method the security team employed. That would be like a honeypot, or it's a file, so I guess that's a honey file. I don't know. Never heard of that, but it makes sense. While preparing a disaster recovery plan, management at a company considers how far back it can allow for the loss of data. Which metric does management use to describe this business essential data in terms of recovery? I believe that's the maximum tolerable downtime. It's weird that they describe it in past tense, like how far back it can allow for the loss of data. It may be recovery point objective. Man, these terms are so, I don't know why they're so confusing to me. Recovery point objective and recovery time objective. I don't understand the difference. But I'm going to go with maximum tolerable downtime. After a break-in at a government laboratory, some proprietary information was stolen and leaked. Which statement best summarizes how the laboratory can implement security controls to prevent future breaches? Yeah, I'm gonna go with A. No, let's go with D. Corrective action. Implement physical and preventative controls. All right, last and final PBQ. As a security specialist dealing with threat intelligence, you must reconstruct the methods of an attack so that you can attempt to attribute the tactics, techniques, and procedures to a group of threat actors. Recently, 3 of your organization's consulting clients have been pwned, and you need to determine how the attackers accomplished it. This knowledge will not only assist in identifying the attackers involved, but also in hardening your client's defenses. Attacker obtains a database of password hashes for later use. That would be offline, and I would use John the Ripper. I mean, technically it's offline when you're cracking it, but it's also brute force. Yeah. Attacker attempts every possible combination in the output space in order to match a captured hash and guess the plain text. That's a brute force. Is it hashcat? Ugh. Yeah, we'll go with hashcat. Attacker uses a combination of dictionary and brute force attacks to obtain a password. A combination of dictionary and brute force. Would that be rainbow table? We'll go with hybrid. And I don't know about this one. Maybe Hydra? Man, I gotta learn my password cracking tools better. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with that. Sal, an IT specialist for a large tech firm, pays for a subscription to a threat data feed to stay updated on the latest blogs, white papers, and webinars in his field. What term best describes this type of feed? A threat data feed? That would be proprietary or vendor specific. He's paying for it. He's staying updated on the latest blogs, white papers, and webinars. I guess vendor specific is fine. Hey, congrats, man. Congrats on passing your Security Plus. I am taking mine in a couple of weeks. An engineering firm provisions microwave technology for a wide area communications project. When using point to multipoint mode, which technologies does the firm put in place? High gain link between 2 sites? I don't know, sounds likely. Which statement best describes the purpose of the spanning tree protocol? Prevent loops and network broadcast storms. Company's IT department pushes system updates and configures user permissions from the same shared account. Which statement best describes how this practice is problematic? Pushes system updates and configures user permissions. Single point of failure, non-repudiation, properly separate duties. It's like all of these, but properly separate duties would be the best description. Simulate the installation of a bare metal virtual platform. Simulate the installation. Type 1 hypervisor installed directly on a host machine and manages access to the host hardware directly. Yeah, that sounds like it. Yep. Management at a financial firm is assembling an incident response team that will be responsible for handling certain aspects of recovery and remediation following a security incident. What internal offices should provide a representative to serve as a member of this team? Select all that apply. Probably legal. And PR, I would say. Honestly, maybe HR too, because if it's suspected insider threat, HR probably knows who's up to no good. And they can stick up for the employees if, they need to. A hacker gains access to a database of usernames for a target company and then begins combining common weak passwords with each username to attempt authentication. The hacker conducts what type of attack? Password spraying? Rainbow table is when you have already computed hashes. Dictionary is using common words from the dictionary, basically. Brute force is every possible combination. It's kind of like password spraying. It's also kind of like a dictionary attack. Security manager configures an access control list to enumerate permissions to data resources. Evaluate the control measure and determine to what state of data the control applies. Data resources would be data at rest, I believe. Which of the following statements illustrates an advantage that a self-encrypting drive offers over full disk encryption? I don't actually know. I think it's A or C. I'm gonna go with A. Oh, done. All right. I was hoping for a 60 or 70%. We got 16 minutes to spare, so we could review the questions, make sure we didn't make any dumb mistakes in the real thing. But I'm just going to go ahead and pass it on here. I've reviewed my answers. Ooh. Just shy of the goal. 55. All right. Well, that's about how much of the material that I've read. So I'll take it. I will take it. And I'm going to go to the category scores, which this is a really cool thing about this platform. It'll show me the names of the categories and how I score on each one. So, for example, identifying social engineering and malware, I got 100, so I don't need to study that. I can leave that alone. Whereas implementing identity and account management controls, I got 25%. Implementing secure mobile solutions, I got 0%. So these are the sections that I'm definitely going to want to look over. Yeah, there's clearly some winners and losers here. I am really curious about the performance-based questions. So let's see. Oh, man. I did also say I was going to go over the answers for you guys. Is it possible to view all of the answers? What is this? Confirm. Oh, it's because I'm so zoomed in. What is this? What is going on? Why does it look like that? It looks horrible. Question review. Oh, okay. Wow. I got 2 out of the 7 of the Nmap. That's sad. What is this? Why is this broken? Well, I was gonna review every answer. But this seems super broken. And I'm not sure why. Let's a little refresh here. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I think it was because I was too zoomed in. All right, so yeah, well, that's not too surprising. It's been a while with Nmap. 4 out of 6 on this one. Wow, I got pinning correct. Okay. 3 out of 6 on this one. Okay. Interesting. I'm just going to click through these real quick for you guys so you can see. I hope these are in the correct order. It was a rogue access point. And this one was persistence. No, lateral movement. This was IOC. Indicator of compromise. Yes, that makes sense. Descriptions of example attacks. Closed and proprietary. Huh. Configure the use of port. Oh, I got this completely wrong. 990 FTPS. I need to look that up for sure. What is that? Implicit TLS. Okay. Interesting. I was thinking SFTP. VM sprawl, VM escape. Okay. Data. Virtual machine. Oh, containers and microservices. Okay. Interesting. Error handling. No, it was input validation. I almost chose that one. B, OpenID Connect. It was SAML tokens are signed with an XML digital signature. Interesting. Full followed by incrementals. Nope, it was full followed by differentials. B and C. Okay. It was C. So that does not work. Not on an SSD. Key stretching makes the password stronger. No. Key stretching adds entropy. Okay. Tap active. No, it was span and mirror. That's what we wanted. Span or mirror. Receives copies. Okay. Choose your own device. That was wrong. But that's what it stands for. Corporate owned, personally enabled. Huh. Wow, I gotta make some flashcards, man. I really gotta make some flashcards for these. VDI. Interesting. Okay. Breaks non-repudiation. Yeah, that's true. Smart card. It was both. It was both. Verification is not a stage in a key's life cycle. Well, that makes sense. This tool is an open source graphical backup. Local machines are. Huh. Yeah, that's true. That could give you a hint about a man in the middle attack. An attacker uses a DNS lookup from a network host. Huh. Really? Okay. Really? Hmm. All right. Well, that's the end of the test for me, guys. Hopefully you found that to be useful. If not, you probably didn't make it this far. So, thanks for watching the live stream. Good luck to all of you who are planning on taking your test soon. Congrats to those of you who have already passed. And I'll be taking my own sometime soon. So, hope to see you guys in another video. Bye.